Welcome into NBA Now from Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. Trade deadline about 2.5 weeks away on February 6th. So let's get the latest trade rumors circulating around the association, starting with the Toronto Raptors. Could a fire sale be coming? There's rumors out there. The report is that the Raptors could be sellers at the trade deadline and could opt to start their rebuild around Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, some of their younger players on this roster. And this one's interesting because Toronto is third in the Eastern Conference as we sit right now, 28-14 through the halfway point of the season. So Toronto's in an interesting spot because you got to ask yourself as a franchise and as the defending champions, do you want to try and go all in again this year? Or do you want to be maybe a little bit more realistic and start looking ahead toward the future? Now, these were the three guys mentioned specifically, obviously aging veterans for the Raptors that are tradable because Ibaka and Gasol are in the last year of their deals. Yes, Kyle Lowry had the 1-year extension through next season, but only a 1.5 years left on his contract. All three of these guys can contribute on teams trying to win a championship. Is that Toronto? I'm not so sure. I think they're more of a second-tier team this year in the Eastern Conference. I think they could maybe get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Not sure they're a title-contending team. That's why they're pondering trading some of these guys. And I agree with it. I would build around Pascal Siakam if the trade is right for some of these guys. Ask you guys this question. What should the Raptors do? Should they buy or should they sell at the trade deadline? If you think they should just stand pat, type P for that as well. But I would try and sell a little bit. I wouldn't go full sell mode. Marc Gasol, for example, only scoring 7 points this year. He's probably better suited on a team ready to win a championship in 2020. So maybe you trade him, keep Lowry, and see if you can still make a playoff run here. But I would type my S for sell. I'm leaning toward building around Siakam in Toronto. Now, you look at the top 5 teams in the East. Like I said, the Raptors, they're still third in the Eastern Conference. They played a lot better this year than I thought they would after losing Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, the Bucks are a step ahead of everybody else in the East right now. Keep in mind the Sixers, they've kind of been up and down. They're the 6th seed in the East at the moment. You got Boston, Indiana, Miami kind of in there in the mix. Eric Spoelstra in Miami should be up for Coach of the Year, by the way, what he's doing with that group. But Toronto is kind of right there outside of Milwaukee. They could be one of the teams that are a big threat to them. So we will see what they end up doing with these three guys right here. You got Lowry. He's still scoring over 20 points per game, dishing out 7.5 assists per game. Good three-point shooter. Serge Ibaka is still an effective player. Kind of shifted his game in recent years as a stretch big, scoring 15, grabbing 8 boards as well. And I mentioned Gasol, still a good facilitator as a big man, grabs 6 boards a game. Not much of a scorer at this point in his career. That's why I think he's the most likely guy to get traded from Toronto. I think he's a valuable piece coming off the bench for a title contending team. But I'll ask you, who's most likely to get traded? Type L for Lowry, type I for Ibaka, type G for Gasol. I think it's Gasol. I think Lowry and Ibaka still have value in a playoff run this year for Toronto. They can get back something for Gasol, either a pick or a young player for the future to build around Pascal Siakam. Now, I mentioned it, guys, 2.5 weeks away from the NBA trade deadline. No one's going to keep you more up to date with the latest NBA trade rumors than we are here at Chat Sports. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the big red button. We will be live on February 6th for the NBA trade deadline. We'll keep you up to speed throughout that afternoon as the deadline approaches. But like I said, videos for the next couple of weeks. Be looking on the channel for the latest NBA trade rumors. Might get hit with an ad break right here. Scroll down, just hit that big red button, scroll back up. The video will be back on and playing. Okay, Spurs, they're kind of in a pickle here because there's conflicting reports. Apparently, they're deciding as an organization whether or not they should shop LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, 2 of their older superstars on this roster. Superstars might be a strong word for these two at this point in their career. Still really good players, not superstars, obviously. Both are set for free agency after next season, so they got a 1.5 years left on their current deals. I think the dilemma the Spurs organization is going through right now is they've made the playoffs 22 straight years. Right now, they're the 9 seed in the Western Conference, just on the outside looking in. Is it worth trying to just be the 8 seed or the 7 seed and just making the playoffs, kind of being in that NBA purgatory? Or should you shift to the future and get some young assets back? That's the direction I would go into. It's tough when you're an organization like San Antonio to want to start a rebuild when you've been kind of the most stable organization in sports for the better part of 2 decades. I mean, that's what we're talking about here with San Antonio. But you look at DeRozan, you look at Aldridge, still very, very productive players. Obviously, DeRozan not much of a three-point shooter, but these are 20-point scorers in the NBA. They'll get pieces back for these 2 guys, draft picks as well, if they decide to go in that direction. I would start a rebuild. That's tough to face as an organization, especially one like the San Antonio Spurs, a team that only knows winning. But reality sets in eventually, and that's what the Spurs are. Should the Spurs start a rebuild? I say yes. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm typing my Y for yes. I think it's time for the Spurs to look ahead to the future. Trade DeMar, trade Aldridge, start looking ahead for the next couple of years. Now, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Wanted to get you guys updated on the latest NBA title odds. Here are the top 5. You got the Bucks leading the way, plus 284 odds. The Lakers, plus 350. Clippers, plus 400. I think it's fair to say those are the top 3 right now. I think the Bucks are #1 because the Eastern Conference has an easier path to the finals. You got the Sixers at plus 900. Rockets at plus 1,000. They've been skidding as of late. Don't love their chances in the playoffs. Those are the top 5. If you want to bet on the NBA title odds or anything in the NBA or across all sports, you got the Super Bowl coming up in a couple of weeks as well. Chatsports.com/bet is where you can get signed up with BetDSI. Use that promo code NBA120. Get that 120% deposit bonus. Put down $100. They're going to give you $120 for free. It's the best promo deal out there in terms of sports betting. BetDSI. Go get signed up today. Okay, Myles Turner, these trade rumors continue to circulate as, 1 week, we're not trading him next week, Pacers considering trading him. And the reason is his fit with Domantas Sabonis long-term is tricky. I mean, it's 2 centers, essentially. And by the way, Sabonis, I think people were surprised when they brought both these guys back. Sabonis is the guy who's getting more run right now. He just had a triple-double last night. He is more of a focal point for this Pacers team. Myles Turner's 5th in scoring on the team. It's about to be 6th because Victor Oladipo's going to come back soon. I just think he's underutilized in Indiana. Good player. They like him. But if you can move him and get assets back, it's a win-win for both sides. Turner can excel more elsewhere. Effective player, over 12 points, 6 boards, and 2 blocks for a team that doesn't really fully utilize him. And he's a good enough three-point shooter in today's NBA to be that modern-day stretch 5. I like Myles Turner a lot. I think Indiana kind of regrets bringing him and Sabonis back because you can't play 2 twin towers in today's NBA. It's just not super effective. So here are 3 teams I came up with that I think make some sense. First, the Dallas Mavericks. Why? Kristaps Porzingis is injury prone, and their interior defense has been brutal since he's been out. I think he could help rebounding and as a defender and could help stretch the floor even more than the Mavericks already do. Take some pressure off Porzingis even when he is healthy. Sit him some on back-to-backs. Don't feel like he has to do too much, at least in the short term. So I like that fit. Boston Celtics. Their bigs are brutal. Great guards, great wings. Don't really have any good bigs. I think he would be an ideal fit there. And then the Toronto Raptors. We just talked about the Raptors. What if you traded Gasol to Indiana, expiring contract, you bring back Myles Turner in return, maybe you throw the Raptors a pick as well as a part of the deal? I think that could make sense for both sides in that regard. I think Myles Turner would be better suited elsewhere, and I think Indiana would be better suited splitting up him and Domantas Sabonis. But which team should trade for Myles Turner? Let me know what you guys think. I think those 3 teams are some good options. I think he would fit with most teams because, like I said, he's a modern-day stretch 5. Let me know what you guys think. Which team should trade for Myles Turner before the NBA trade deadline on February 6th? Now, I mentioned our sponsor, BetDSI. I love MLK Day because the day after Championship Sunday in the NFL, every team in the NBA just about is in action. We got afternoon games, we got night games. These are the top 5 games on the schedule, in my opinion. You got the Thunder at the Rockets, -6.5 for Houston. Celtics at home facing the Lakers, 2 classic franchises. Lakers 2-point favorites in that one. T-Wolves 2.5-point favorites at home against Denver. I really like Denver in that game on the road. Go bet on them at BetDSI. Pacers at the Jazz. Jazz 7.5-point favorites. They're playing really good basketball right now. And then the Blazers 6-point favorites at home against the Golden State Warriors. Those tip-off times, Eastern Standard Time Zone right there. You can bet on all of these games at BetDSI. Again, use our promo code NBA120. Chatsports.com/bet. That link will get you right into BetDSI's website. You can get signed up, but don't forget to use that promo code NBA120. Go bet on all games here on MLK Day. Last trade rumor here, the Brooklyn Nets reportedly could be considering moving on from Spencer Dinwiddie, and that's because a lot of teams are calling, and in my opinion, the main reason is his trade value is probably never going to be higher than it is right now, and that's because he's playing a ton this year because Kevin Durant's hurt. He's out this year. Kyrie Irving's missed time with injury, so he is getting a lot of time. He's starting for the first time in his career, night in and night out. So the question is, should Brooklyn trade him while his value is high? Because they're not going to do much this year without KD. They're the 8th seed in the East right now. Maybe you get a piece that fits with Durant and Irving better, a better three-point shooter, and you look ahead to 2020, 2021 season. That's the thought process here from Brooklyn. That's my thought process here. You look at his improvement over the last 4 years. 3 years ago, he's averaging 7 points a game. Now he's almost 22 points per game. Volume score, not the best shooter, 42% from the field, low mid-30s from three. I think he's a guy that would excel on a young roster that you can build together with. So I threw a couple of teams together that I think would make some sense. One, the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young needs some help. I think Dinwiddie can go in there, be that off guard, help score out of the backcourt for Atlanta. I think that makes a lot of sense. Atlanta's been interested in trading for some players. They are looking at Andre Drummond for a while. That has slowed down a bit. I think Dinwiddie would make some sense. His contract's very tradable too. He's in the middle of a 3-year, $34 million contract. Phoenix, Devin Booker needs another scorer out of that backcourt. I think that makes some sense as well. They've got Booker, they've got Ayton, need a little bit more scoring from that wing position. And then the Miami Heat, the one team on here that's a playoff contender, they've been very active in trade rumors. They've got a nice roster. You put Dinwiddie there, bring him in as your six-man volume scorer off the bench. That could be the piece that gets them over the top in the East. I think those three teams all make some sense. Thanks for watching today. Remember, NBA trade deadline 2.5 weeks away. Make sure you're subscribed so you know when our videos go up on the channel.